It was a comfortable win in the end, wasn't it? Once Mbappe got that goal, you felt there was only going to be one winner in that tie. Carlo Ancelotti's resume is quite something when you take a look what he's achieved. 9 titles for Real Madrid. Oh, this is just Real Madrid. 9 Intercontinental Cup titles then for Real Madrid. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we, Alex Kirkland. Now, Alex, there are some gentlemen alongside me who don't care at all about this game, this result, this trophy, but it's fair to say that Real Madrid very much do.
Yeah, I think it's helpful, really helpful for Real Madrid with the season they're having to be able to say, look, so far, yes, we haven't been playing particularly well, but we've won 2 trophies already. Intercontinental Cup, they won the UEFA Super Cup, of course, at the start of the season, and there are more potentially to come. The next one in January, the Spanish Super Cup. So like I say, given the fact that it hasn't been a great season so far, they're still there or thereabouts, near the top of La Liga, and they've got 2 trophies in the bag. I think Madrid are always on a bit of a hiding to nothing with games like this in these tournaments because they're expected to win. If they win, everyone kind of shrugs and thinks, well, yeah, of course you were going to win. You're by far the strongest team. If they don't win, it's a disaster. But still, they got the job done. They started a little bit slowly. They sort of grew into the game. And as you say, once they went ahead, certainly by the time they were 2-0 up, there was never any doubt about the result. But I think it's helpful, especially for someone like Mbappe as well. Again, a lot of criticism has gone his way this season. But still, he scored in this final. He scored in the UEFA Super Cup final. He scored quite a few goals in the league, despite all the criticism about his form. So helpful for him, for sort of the narrative around him, to be winning trophies and scoring goals in finals, even if it isn't the biggest final. And Madrid will be hoping there'll be much bigger games to come later on this season.
What about those fans from the outside looking in, Alex, going, oi, as a supporter, I care about La Liga and I care about the Champions League. So why aren't you playing your strongest 11 against Rayo Vallecano, where you drop points in what's going to be a very close title race? And why are you fielding such a strong side in this tie, which really you should win even without the likes of Mbappe?
Well, it's a final. Like I say, Real Madrid are all about finals and they're all about trophies. I think if you picked a weakened team in this game and they didn't win, he would get absolutely, torn apart by the press and by the fans and everybody else. It just wouldn't be acceptable. And there's no way you'll never see Real Madrid playing a final, a trophy, whatever the final, and picking a weakened team and not going all out for the win. And of course, you've got the Christmas break coming up, so there'll be time to rest then. There'll be time to rest players over Christmas. When the Copa del Rey comes around, they can play a B team. But in games like this, a high-profile game, albeit, yes, it's far from the biggest trophy of the season, but it's a trophy, and it's the champions of Europe going up against with the other teams that made it through, particularly in the end from Mexico, but for a trophy. And there's no way that Madrid would ever pick a weakened team for a game like this. And that's why Mbappe played, despite the fact we weren't sure if he would, because he was injured last week. We thought he'd be out for 10 days. He's back in less than that. He's back in a week, started the game, played for an hour. So I think that tells you how seriously they take this competition, this game.
Another trophy, as I mentioned, for Carlo Ancelotti. Is it fair to say he's the greatest Real Madrid manager ever, Alex?
He's won the most trophies. I mean, Miguel Muñoz was the other one, the one he's just overtaken with this one. He's got 15 now to Muñoz's 14. Muñoz was there for a lot longer. I think it was something like 14 years that Muñoz was there. Ancelotti, of course, 2 spells, 2 years the first time. This time he's been there since 2021. But yeah, he's won the most trophies of any coach. Madrid, I think they're not really a club that traditionally has been associated with kind of coaches. It's been more about the presidents, Santiago Bernabeu, more recently Florentino Perez, and the star players, Alfredo Di Stefano, Cristiano Ronaldo. And the coaches have often kind of been not the biggest names, and they've often been sort of hired and fired, and they've come and gone over the years. But yeah, I think Ancelotti has a very good case now. Certainly, I mean, he's won the most trophies. Is he the most influential coach in Madrid's history? That's a more difficult question, because you'd have to look at maybe the coaches that were there when the club was sort of building its reputation back in the 60s when they won 5 European Cups in a row, and you could go through sort of the 90s and the 2000s. But yeah, in terms of trophies won, and the fact he's been there twice, he was there the first time, great first season, tough second season, got sacked. They brought him back almost by accident. When he came in 2021, he wasn't the plan. He wasn't the first choice. It sort of happened. No one expected it. Even him and even the club didn't expect it. It happened, and he's come back. I mean, look at what he's done since he come back. He's won 2 doubles in 3 years, and here he is. He's still there. Yes, he gets some stick. Yes, there are some frustrations about aspects of his management in terms of maybe being a little bit conservative at times and sticking with the big names and not liking to rotate. But despite all that, he keeps winning trophies, and the players, you hear them talking after the game today, they do love him and they love playing for him.
Yeah, and obviously when you take a look at the trophies he's won, this isn't particularly high on the list.
You're going to say that? Are we going to hear that word trophy again?
What do you mean?
Trophy.
Well, he's won more trophies than any other manager, and I think that's. This is where I'm taking this to the fact that to do what he's done at Real Madrid under the pressure that he's been under, because every manager's under a lot of pressure going into a big club like this, is something special.
Out with these kind of cups.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, what we would consider proper.
Yes, Champions League, La Ligas. You look at
proper competitions, elite level.
Yeah.
This is not elite level, Pachuca. Yeah, magnificent. Just his whole sort of demeanour and how he handles the adversity that Alex mentioned. He does, he has had a fair amount of stick, but he sort of soldiers on through it with a kind of smile and brushes it off sort of attitude. And I think the players like that. So it's undeniable that, not just in Madrid, but all the other clubs he's been at pretty much, he's been so successful. I mean, apart from that spell at Everton on Merseyside, what the hell?
How much sleep does he lose over that?
What the hell? Yeah. He called himself an Evertonian the other day, I heard, when he was talking to somebody in an interview. But yeah, he's the kind of guy I think would all have, when we were playing, gone, I would like to play for him.
And I think what I imagine from a player's perspective is that there's no games. He's genuine with you.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the one thing that every single footballer, regardless of country or continent or wherever it is, we all like to know where we stand with the manager. And there is absolutely no doubt under Ancelotti, you know exactly where you stand. And when you know where you stand, you know exactly what you have to do. And so that's why players respond to him, because he tells them, if you do this, then you're going to get trophies, pats on the back, money. If you do that, then you're out the door. And as a player, you can't argue with that, and you respond to it.
Do you remember when Liverpool won the Champions League in Istanbul from, was it 3-0 down?
Yeah.
And apparently, Rafa Benitez had several of the players in afterwards to basically go over how they managed to defend so poorly. And in contrast to that, can you imagine Ancelotti, even when they've got over the line and won a trophy and haven't played well, they've got the job done. He's got the big cigar and the glasses and everything. And, players respond to that.
I bet.
Rather than, that sort of nonsense where you've won the game. You're having a head teacher debrief after it.
Yeah.
And that kind of wears on players. Not that Benitez is a bad manager. He's not. He's had a lot of success. But that eventually wears on your players. Whereas Ancelotti, he's timeless, isn't he? Because whether it's a youngster or a more experienced player, he can work with them all.